Stocks surging today with the S&P 500 posting its biggest gain in nearly 2 weeks. So with so much news today, we thought it would be the perfect time to introduce a new game. It is time to play Name That Market Catalyst. So Guy Adami, you're the first contestant. You're actually the only one. If I'd asked you 24 hours ago why we would rally today, would you say A, Gilead, or B, the Fed?
Well, that's easy. I can name that catalyst in one note, Melms. I mean, that's a layup. The Fed, clearly. I mean, come on.
Nope. Sorry. The correct answer is Gilead.
Oh,
The market's soaring after the company reported positive test results for its potential coronavirus treatment, remdesivir. And while we did hear from the Fed today, Chair Powell basically said the Fed will continue to do whatever it takes to support the economy. So with the Fed backstop seemingly firmly in place, does it all come down to hope for a coronavirus treatment? Tim, what do you say?
Well, look, it's a frustrating day to listen to the Fed because they're back-patting themselves, talking about how they stabilized the market. I'd love to hear how the Fed talks about how they're going to get out of emergency stimulus and emergency policy sooner this time. And I'd love to hear the Fed's view on bailing out, levered long investors and a lot of things that have happened in this run. So I do think that today's story is about Gilead. And I do think it is about the sense that all of these companies, and I'm talking about the ones that are the most bombed out, not the blue chips and the top of the food chain we've talked about earnings tonight, are the ones that actually, can start to see maybe bringing in that timeline for recovery to when things go back to whatever the new normal is. But for airlines, for car companies, for cruise lines, even for banks, this is the kind of day that allows people to really look to the other side. So exciting day, strange day where the Fed's in there, still with this crazy 2% inflation target. So, kind of mixed when I listen to the Fed on a day like today.
Should we be looking to the other side, Karen? I mean, so soon? We were just on the side a few weeks ago. Now we're looking at the other side.
I know. I mean, I guess, we sort of look to China as one who has been through it already and come out the other side. And the bounce back there seems to be, pretty strong. And I think that I'm going to challenge I'm going to go with Guy, actually, and say the Fed. I mean, it almost doesn't matter how long it takes to the other side to get to the other side. If the Fed says, we're not going to let you fall, we're going to be there. We're going to do whatever it takes, no matter how long this is, no matter how deep this is, we're going to provide a bridge to the other side. That's kind of what they said, right? So to me, that was bigger than the drug trials.
So Guy is not alone on that. I mean, what Karen and I have been discussing over the past couple of days offline, and this is how interesting we are as people, is we talk about the HYG a lot. And that's really dominated our conversations, honestly, because the Fed hasn't spent a dime, and look at the results it's had already, Pete. So there is this firm belief in the market that the Fed can utter words and the markets will move tremendously based on those utterances.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that they're the backstop. And like we always say on this show, and we've said it forever on CNBC, is you don't fight the Fed. And you don't fight the Fed. But in terms of recent catalysts, just go back to last Thursday with Gilead and all the news and the big spike in the markets that we had then. And then obviously we followed that up. Stock actually went down because, well, this thing's maybe not as great as expected. But I think, again, to see what we saw today and the movement, the markets absolutely flew on this Gilead news. And the reason being is that is something that maybe does bail out the Fed to some degree at some point. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, Tim, but I mean, what I see here is any kind of hope, any kind of glimmer of light that we get from any one of these pharmaceuticals, biotechs, whatever it might be, suddenly everybody has hope. And so we watch the airlines, which we had no hope for just not too many days ago, have a little bit of hope to the upside. We watch Delta and everybody just screaming to the upside. And I think a lot of that, Mel, has to do with the fact that if we can find that bridge, not through the Fed, but the bridge through Gilead or somebody else, we have an opportunity to maybe come back to some sort of normalcy someday.
Just quickly, I'm going to pull the curtain back for one moment and reveal that we actually asked Guy to say the Fed for television purposes, if you will. But Guy, what is your true belief in terms of what this market moved on?
Well, no, I mean, clearly it was the Gilead news without question. And I was more than willing to play your reindeer games, Mel, and say the Fed. But if you really look at it, I mean, you know, in terms of when the Fed came out and started jawboning, the market actually went, you know, sideways to slightly lower. So in retrospect, it was clearly Gilead. With that said, you know, we mentioned Dread Pirate Roberts yesterday. I know Pete's a big Princess Bride fan. And by the way, Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elwes, who I butcher his name, they're big fans of Fast Money, and they're watching right now, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. All you have to do is have the auger, you know, the presence of being a bully. You know, the Fed doesn't have to do a thing, and the market rallies. That was my point yesterday, and I guess that's my point again today.